computer. So when we end the meeting, it will generate the video for you on your desktop. It will open it ready for you to view. That's great.
Thank you.
Lovely. So I'm just going to share my screen with you. There we go. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Lovely. Right. Okay. So at the end of this session, I'm going to give you access to the site, and I'm just going to just run through how the system works and a few steps that you need to do in order for you to get going. When you log into the system, this is the main page that opens. It's like the main landing page. And it's basically on the members view, or will take you to this page as well. The master membership list is shows you everybody who's on your database as a member. At the moment, there is obviously just one person, which is one record, which is this record here. Bear with me one moment. So as your members join up, you'll see them all there, and they'll be listed alphabetically by surname. There are these system default groups, and these are groups that are created by the system to manage the records depending on the profile that they have. You can't actually copy anybody into these groups. So if you want people to be administrators in the system and have administrative privileges, you have to make changes to their record in order for that to take effect. The same with any linked members or lead members or non-members. That's to do with the settings on their profile. We also have different types of groups. So you've got classes and membership categories. And these two types of groups here have got a payment attached to it. And what that means is if you copy or move anybody into a membership category or a class, the system will prompt you to generate a payment request for them. The other type of group that we have is a standard group, and you can create standard groups easily. They're mainly there to help. You can use them for different reasons. So you can have, for example, here your online registrations is a group that people can register for, and then but moving and copying people into these kinds of groups won't do anything. It won't generate payment because there's no payment attached to it. So do you have coaches or teachers that you might want to add to the system?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just show you how to create a group, because what you can do is create a group for your coaches. Do you call them coaches?
Yeah.
Okay. And every time you create a group, there will be a form that the system will that you can have for that group. And by default, the system requires there to be at least the first name and the email address for any group that you create, because that's how the system uniquely identifies the records within the system. And so for whichever group they're in, that information needs to be held against them. With your coaches, we would probably want them to be able to see the form for their registration or in the system. With coaches, you probably don't want them to sign up to be a coach externally. You'd probably want to add them to the system yourself, and there's probably no limit to there. So I'm going to save and build the form for that group. So this is the form, what the forms look like and how you create forms. By default, it's using the master form, which is the form that you sent us that you have for your members to register. We do have in the system a form that's more tailored towards coaches, because I'm assuming that this is mainly for aimed at children. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go to here and copy it from the one that we have, which is our coaches template form, and copy that form there. And so this asks slightly different information. So for example, on here by default, we would have sort of DBS certificate number and expiry date, first aid information as well. If any of these fields are not relevant, you can remove them by just clicking on this little grey button here. So do you use, for your coaches will be using?
Yeah, we will use all of them.
Okay, so I'll just show you. So if you just unclick it on there, it just removes it from the field. If you want to add it, you can you just tick it from there, and it'll add it back onto the list, onto the form. If it, by default, the system adds any fields that you add to the bottom of the form, so you can just drag it and move it to the right place where you want it, and then press save. I'm going to just go to your online registration form and show you how to make fields mandatory when members are joining up. I'll just show you what that looks like at the moment. So if I show you the registration page at the moment, so if someone is going to register fresh, this is the registration page that the option they're going to see. So then they can choose the classes that they want to join up for along here. And then it asks them to enter in their information. So at the moment, I'm just going to use a test person so I can show you what that looks like. If I'm a parent and I have more than one child that I want to register at the same time, I would use this submit and add additional people. And what that will do is it will automatically link those two registrations in the system, so that I can just log into one online account to see the information and make payment for both registrations. I'll just do that now so you can see what that looks like. And it will automatically pull across any information that I've already filled in, with the exception of the first name and the date of birth. I can't type today at all, apologies. So yeah, you can see it's pulled over the same email address. So I'm just going
to do at a later date, so if they already had one account and only one kid come in, and then a bit later another daughter joins, can they add them to it then as well?
No, what they would do, there's two options in that scenario. One would be for you, as an administrator, would add the second child and link them directly in the system. Or they could register for their second child like they did the first one, and then ask the club to link the two records so that they can access it in one account. Okay. But if they're making those registrations at different times, they don't have the opportunity to link them together. Okay. It would need to be something that was done by the administrator. Yeah. So I'll just submit and proceed to the next page just so that you can see. So what it does is it just provides the form for the classes that you've signed up for you to double check that. So again, in case there's any information that you're asking for the class registration that's separate from the online registration form that might be different. In this case, they're exactly the same. So they just read through and add it and submit and proceed to the next page. So here it's just showing you exactly what you've signed up for and for who. And at the moment, none of these require payment at the point of registration. So I can press confirm, and that will basically, I'll show you where their registrations go in the system. So at the moment, once I've made the registration, it will send me an email with the same message as well to the email that I put in the system. If I go to members view all, I can see in the system group, which is online registrations awaiting approval, those two registrations that I've made. So as an administrator, you'll get a notification saying you've had somebody register, they're waiting for you to approve them. And you can approve them all at the same time using this link. If you want to put them in a different class, you can do. You can approve and move them and put them into a different class. For the time being, I'm just going to approve them. Because you haven't taken payment at the point of registration, you need to approve them as a member. This is because only members have access to the online account. Non-members won't have access to the online account. So what that means is that in order for them to make payment, we're going to ask them to log into their members account to make payment. So they need to have member status. Press confirm for that. Then there's also the option to send an approval notification email. This is, again, up to the club. Mostly, it's useful if you're going to be approving people who've registered, but maybe your class isn't starting for a month or so, and they're not going to get the payment request for the class until later. I'm going to just say yes now, just so that you can see what that email looks like. And then because I've approved them, and in terms of the system, I've actually put them into a class that has a payment attached to it, the system is prompting me to schedule the payment request. And you have two options. One is, well, three. One is to schedule payment request now, one is schedule payment request later, and the other one is no payment request is required. If you choose no payment request is required, it means they will never be asked to make a payment. So we recommend that you either schedule payment request now or later. And what that will do is that the system will generate a payment request. And here you'll be able to see the amount and the date and the email request that will go with them. So I'll just save and finish and show you what that looks like. So as your members are going to register fresh, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the process that you'll be going through as they register. So now you can see, now that I've approved those two registrations, they're now on the master membership list, and I can see them there in the list. I can also, if I go to the classes that they signed up for, you can see them there. So I've got one person registered there and one person there. If I click on that class, again, I will see their name registered there. I'm just going to show you what it looks like on the members record. So I can go directly to the members record either by clicking on their name from here or using this search bar up here to find their record. So if I type PSO there, it will give me everybody who has that in their name, either first name or last name. And if I click directly there, I will navigate to that member's record. This section up here, select which form you'd like to view. If I click down here, this shows me all the groups that that member is in, and a member can be in multiple groups at any time. So at the moment they're on the online registration group, so they registered online and they signed up for this class. And this is all the information that I have on them. And at the bottom here, I can see that those members is a lead member and he's linked to somebody else, and all the emails that were sent from the system. So when I registered, remember it said it sent that email to me saying thank you for registering, we'll be in touch shortly. Another one saying the account has been approved, you know, that email notification that we had the option to send or not. The system, when generating payment requests, it refreshes every 2 minutes. So any time within that 2-minute cycle is when that payment request will show as outstanding in the system, and the payment request email will show as well. So when we requested payment from that member, when we approved them, the system sent out an email to say, this is, you now need to make payment for this, for that, and this is how you make payment. You need to log in and make payment. I'll show you the settings for the classes and where those email templates are for you to be able to, if you wish to edit them and make changes to that. So from the members record, I can see, from the admin side, I can see the outstanding amounts that are there and what for. And when I'm on the members record as well, I can switch to the members login. And this allows you to see what the member will be seeing when they log into their members account. So because we link these two accounts, these two records together, I can see the lead member and the additional member that's linked to that account. If I go to the payment tab, it will show me what's outstanding for all members that are in the account, and I can make payment directly for both as appropriate. I can also update the information, and this is quite useful in the sense that if you, as an administrator, want to add information that's mandatory that you might not have requested before, members can go in to their account and update that information. So you always can have up-to-date information on your members. At the moment, because on the form we only have the first name and the email address fields as mandatory, I can, and they're complete, I can go to the payment tab. But if I was to, as an administrator, make any of those other fields mandatory and they're not complete, I'd have to fill them in before I'd be able to navigate to any other page. So I'll just show you how to make those changes to your form. When you are, as an administrator, in a member's record, we do recommend that you always use the switch back to admin login to be able to go back into the system rather than just closing this, because otherwise the system's going to think that you are that member trying to access the system and you don't have the right administrative privileges to do so. Okay, so just to go back a little bit on your forms for your registration page, to make any changes to your forms, you can find them under admin forms. And by default, you'll always land on the master form. If you click on this little link here, it will show you all the forms that are linked to the master. And what that means is that all these forms for all these classes are exactly the same as the form that you're seeing here for your master. And if you make any changes to the master form, those changes will also be reflected on all of these forms at the same time. If you click on this tab here, you'll see all the forms that are not linked to the master. And what that means is that you will need to make any changes that you want for these forms individually, because any changes you make to the master, it will not make the same changes to these forms as well, because they're different. So if I just click on the online registration, and I'll just show you how to make some form fields mandatory. So at the top here, you've got the classes. So you don't want to make any of those mandatory, otherwise you're actually choosing for them which classes they need to complete to join. But if I scroll down to here in terms of the personal details section, I'm assuming you probably want to make the last name mandatory.
Yeah.
Do you want the address fields as well?
Yes.
Okay, if I do address 1, town,
And postcode.
and the postcode, and the date of birth, yep.
Yeah.
And do you want the mobile phone number?
Yeah.
And
is there room for a landline number as well?
Yeah, so if you want to add a landline number, I'll show you how to do that in just one moment. So just give any details of allergies. Do you need the doctor's name or not? It's only required, so I won't make that one mandatory. Dietary requirements. So I'm going to say the consent, make that one. Okay, so because I've made changes to this form, I need to just save those changes for them to take effect. And you said you wanted to add another field, so you can add any field that's missing, that you feel is missing from this form. You can add it using this section here. So first of all, if it's something that's already there, so for example, do you want the home phone number or work number or both?
Preferably both, but we'll make sure the numbers
mandatory. Okay, so to add fields onto the form, you just tick them from here, and if there's a field that's missing, you can create it there, and you can create it to be a multiple choice question, you can create it to be a statement, just like that, and then save, and then that will again add it by default to the bottom of the form.
Okay.
So what you might want to then move them, so to put them in the right place. So you just highlight them and then just drag them to the right place. So I'm just going to put them up by the mobile phone number like that. And I'm just going to make this field here mandatory and save that. So now if I go to the view registration page and I look at the online registration, you'll see that all those fields that we made mandatory now show up as mandatory on the form. So that basically means they won't be able to complete their registration without completing all those fields as well. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go back now. Right, so I'm just going to show you now where you can view and change the settings for your classes in your membership categories. So from the Members tab, that's where we saw who was in the database and where they were. On the subscription options, this is where we can see and change the settings for your classes and your membership categories. So how much you charge and any limits on the classes and stuff like that. So I can see that you had membership categories and classes. So to view the membership categories, you just click on membership categories. So you can see those there. Mm-hmm. So that's the cost, that membership category. Bear with me one moment. So my colleague just set this up, so I just wanted to double check. Are these are membership? Are these something that your members will be signing up for? Is it something that you would be putting them into these membership categories?
It depends. So whichever class they choose, it should automatically go to one of these membership categories.
Okay. Okay, so because there's a payment associated with these membership categories, I'm just going to quickly edit the name of them to just include the name of the club, so that when payments come through, if there are any issues with the payments, we can actually distinguish that and identify it to your club quickly and easily, because obviously we have quite a number of gymnastics clubs that might have very similar sounding classes and membership categories. So for your general gymnastics, so that here you can see that the cost of this membership category is 20, and it's due.
Hang on, sorry, yeah, this is membership. Sorry, I'm getting confused. Yeah, no, yeah. Sorry, carry on.
General, I might just put this as membership.
Yeah.
Just to make that clear, the membership category is also quite helpful. And then here, but we're not actually, at the moment, the settings are that you will be copying people into that membership category, and it's not something that they select themselves. Is that right?
Allow prospective members to register for the membership category via the online registration. I guess this is something that we'd have to figure out as I know more about it to decide.
Okay. What you can do is when you approve people, you can use the approve and move, and that way you can approve them into their class and also add them to the relevant membership category at the same time, and then that will generate a payment request for the membership category at the same time as well.
Yeah, I think that would probably be better actually.
Okay. With all groups that have a payment attached to them, there are some email templates that that the system will be sending out at the same time. Some are mandatory and some are optional. So at the moment, for this membership category, this is the email template that is associated with this membership category. You can edit that by just clicking on it in the settings. You'll see that anything that's within square brackets here is an insert field, and what that means is that the system is actually pulling out that information from the database and personalizing the email according to who it's going to. If there are any additional fields that you wish to add to your email, you can do it from insert field from up here and putting your cursor where it is and then just adding it. you can also edit this email as appropriate. Do you know whether you'll be accepting credit and debit card payments from your members?
I think we're going to no, just direct debit.
Okay, so if you're only going to be taking direct debit payments, I'd be grateful when you're going through the settings and just checking your email templates to just delete that last paragraph, because it's not going to apply to your members, because it only applies to clubs who are accepting credit card payments and debit card payments. So just if you could go through the templates and just delete that one would be great.
Does it make any difference in cost if we do decide to go down that route?
Yes, it is more expensive to accept for transactions that are made by card. I think it's 1% more than direct debit, plus for each transaction there is an additional charge levied by PayPal. It's 20p per transaction that is under £10 and 50p per transaction that is over £10.
Okay.
So are you happy for me to make that change now here?
Yes, please.
Yeah, okay. So the optional email template that you have as well, that at the moment is switched off, but you can switch on again, is to send a reminder if no payment is received within an X amount of period between when the first payment request was scheduled and X number of days after. So if you want to switch that on, you just switch that on from there, and you select the number of days after the payment request has been scheduled that no payment has been received. So again, I'm just going to remove that from there. So is this a feature you'd want to switch on?
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so I'll just save that template there. And so when you've made any changes to the settings, you need to just save and finish for those settings to be saved, so those changes to be saved.
So can we add things in quite easily ourselves on there?
Yes, you can. So if there are any other membership categories that you want to add, what I'd recommend you do is, it's fine if there's one already set up that is very close in terms of the settings, just copy them.
Yeah.
And then all you need to do is to edit the name. And what that means is it will copy over across all the same email templates and all the other settings. So you might want to just edit the name and the amount, for example, but your settings for your email templates will probably be correct. And that's the same for classes as well that you have. So I'm just going to quickly show you the classes here as well. So you'll see them all listed here in the same way. And again, whether it shows renew or auto renew here is dependent on the settings. So any category that is that needs renewal is just like a one-off payment. And a class which auto renews is one where it's a recurring monthly or annual or quarterly payment in that sense. So with your classes here, it says limit the number of members that can register for this class. For this particular class, it's 16 members, and we've got it set to automatically create a waiting list if it's full. And what that means is that on your online registration page, if you've already got 16 members in this class, the system will automatically only show the waiting list group for prospective members to sign up for this class. And again, you've got the email notifications that you can change. So you need to just remove that from there and save. And again, with regards to your overdue payment email, you would want to switch that on and set the number of dates and remove that final paragraph from there. You would need to do that for all of your classes, just to check. Yeah. And also, if you wanted to add a logo, you can do that as well by just clicking on there and choosing upload. Again, it's up to you whether you want to do that, add that as well. And you can, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I'd recommend that you just double check those settings and your email templates for your membership categories and your classes.
Yeah, I'll have more classes to add. I only gave you guys like our main ones.
Okay.
So is that
Okay.
for us to do?
Yes, yes, if you can do that as well. So what I would recommend, again, like I said, with the settings, find a class that matches closest, has the same settings or as close as settings as it is that you want to, that are going to apply to the class that you're creating, and then just use the copy feature. So what I'd recommend that you did is if you checked your email templates and made the changes that you need to make to them before you add new classes, so that when you copy them over, if you've added your logos, then that will automatically copy over, as well as, so your templates will be correct and up to date before doing that. And also just try and make follow the similar naming, so having the time and the age groups that are appropriate, as well as the maybe just the initials of the club to kind of identify them to you as well. That'd be
now, I
very
see
helpful.
it's working great for our current members as they just change over. But when we get a new customer, they basically they do a 2-week trial and pay for 2 weeks.
Yeah. Okay. So you know how we are. When I showed you when new members registered, it would go into the system group, which is online registrations awaiting approval.
Yeah.
So what you would do at this stage is you would probably choose to schedule the payment request later.
Okay.
And what I'd probably recommend you do is maybe create a group which is a trial group, so that you can quickly identify them as well. And that way you can put them in the class, but you haven't scheduled the payment request for them until they join the class properly. And what that means is that if you have any attendance registers, their names will show, but then you can schedule the payment for when it becomes due at the same time. So I might just quickly create a group there for you. I'm just going to...
Yeah, because we do a trial, and then it depends on how many weeks they've got left after their 2-week trial, how many weeks are left within that month before the first of the next month.
Okay.
Bill them then for that, and then they start their standing order for the first of, or direct debit for the first of the next month, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay. So for example, for this group, you might only want the first name. Actually, no, you might want the last name as well, in case you got lots of people. You probably wouldn't want the address. You wouldn't really want any information, because this is more of a group for your own internal. And you'd probably want the date added so that you knew which date they joined the system. Bear with me one moment. Sorry. It's one of the okay, the date added. So basically what that would mean, let's have a look. So if I go to my master membership, oops, excuse me, not quite sure what that, okay. So if I go to my master membership list, and I'll show you how to copy members who are already in the system into another group. So if I want to, let's say when I approved this member's registration, these two members, I actually was approving them for a trial as well. So I put them into the class, but when I approve and move, it gives me this option to select another destination that I want to copy them into as well. So at this point, I would also select my members in a trial. Okay.
Yeah.
And at this point, instead of scheduling the payment request now, I'd probably schedule it later. So let me just request. I'm just going to request request payment and schedule it later, just so that I can show you what that looks like. So when you're approving new members who are going to have a trial, when you're in this online members waiting approval, copy them into the members waiting a trial group at the same time as you're approving their registration. So you'd use the approve and move feature, and then instead of scheduling now, you'd use the middle option, which is schedule payment request later. And what that means is that the system will create a payment request, but it won't have a date attached to it, and it won't become outstanding in the system. And what that means is at the beginning of the month, you can go to your financials, payment request waiting to be scheduled. Yeah. Select all that are there, press next, and then you'll be able to schedule them as appropriate. So what that means is it allows you to put them into the class without taking payment from them at that point. But then when payment becomes due, the payment request is already there waiting for you to give it a date and to make it outstanding. In exactly the same way. And you can also, when you have payment requests waiting to be, payment requests waiting to be scheduled, you can also filter by a group. So if you're going to be applying any discounts or for your members who are in a trial to be able to quickly see them, you can just do that. So if you had lots of them sitting here, you'll be able to see them quickly by selecting that filter and pressing OK. At the moment, you can't see that because there's only one member who's also in that group as well. But yeah, but we can when you're ready to go live, we can sort of, if you need any support on that, we can schedule some more time for that. With your courses at the moment, sorry, not your courses, apologies. With your classes, the settings are, if you look on your settings for your class, it's display the option for prospective members to register for this class on your registration form. So that is why, on the online registration, it had all the classes listed at the top for them to select. So when you're adding new classes to, when you're creating new classes, if you're copying from existing settings, they will be added to that online registration. But do you remember I said by default, anything that you add to a form will automatically go to the bottom of the list? So when you create new classes, when you finish creating all the classes that you want to add to the system, just remember to go back to admin forms and then choose your online registration form, and then just scroll down to the bottom here and just move them all up to where they need to be so that they're all grouped together. Okay. And the next thing that you need to do is going to be to link your account to a method of accepting payment. So the place to do that is to go to admin settings. And in the financial sections, you have this section here which says receive payment from members by. So we talked about direct debit and card payments. Do you have a Go Cardless account already?
No.
Okay, so go to this section and then tick this tick box here and then click on Create Connect a Go Cardless account. And this will take you to Go Cardless for you to create an account. And if you create the Go Cardless account from the system here, then your Go Cardless account will automatically be linked to your PaySubs online account. So it will be already, so that any members that make payment through the system, it will automatically credit your Go Cardless account and your bank account that is linked to your Go Cardless account here. The Go Cardless, they have a verification process that takes 2 to 3 working days. And what they do is they deduct a penny from your account and then they refund it just to make sure it's a live account. They do also have certain criteria about the kind of business account that you have. If you, on this page here, if you select there's a help article on how to set up a Go Cardless account, and it gives you the step-by-step view as to what to expect. I think it's only partnership accounts which are not eligible. So I'm not quite sure what kind of a bank account your club has, but if it's a partnership account, you won't be able to use Go Cardless. You would have to use PayPal probably to accept card payments. So yeah, the other thing that's important to know about Go Cardless is that they have a 6 working day processing time in the first instance, which is then 5 days thereafter. And what that means is that it will take 6 working days from the time that the payment is initiated for it to then credit your account. So that's quite important to bear in mind when you are scheduling payments. So if you're doing your renewals, or you're having there's a particular date by which your fees need to be collected. So if you have payroll that needs to come out at a certain date, you need to bear that in mind when you're scheduling payment requests. Obviously at the moment, because your members are going to be registering fresh, those payments are going to get taken as and when they register. But I noticed that you had some recurring payments, which are monthly fees for your classes. So it might be useful to, once they've made that first payment and you've approved them into that class, we can just make sure that the upcoming payments are scheduled for a particular date as required. So once your members are all in system, if you want some support with that, just let us know, and we'll talk you through how to do that to make sure that regular monthly payments are taken up.
Yeah, I've got 2 or 3 others that I'm going to get to work
Sorry?
on. I've got
okay.
So I'll send this over to them.
Okay.
And I think what we're going to do is just make sure we've all got our heads around it before we let any parents go on it.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, so I'll leave those 2 test people in the account so you can play around with them. I'd recommend that you create your own test people as well, just to kind of feel comfortable with the system. And if you have any questions, just let us know. I mean, when are you expecting or hoping for it all to be set up and ready to go and for you to be taking payment?
Well, we currently use Easy Facility, and we can't leave them until the 1st of June. So we've got a good couple of months to really get to know the system.
Okay. So what's the system you're using at the moment? Easy
Facility, EZ Facility.
Okay, I'll just make a note of that. So you're not expecting to take payments through the system until the 1st of June at the very start.
Yeah.
Okay, but I mean, what you could do is you could still get your members to register onto the system, so that they're ready to go. And what you could do is you could also ask them to pre-authorize future payments. And what that means is that when they log into their account, they can pre-authorize their payments, so that when you approve them or when you schedule the payment requests, they won't need to log into their account to make the payment. They would automatically work like a direct debit, and it would automatically start processing.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. So yeah, so there's help articles on the page there as to how to, that are relevant to what you're likely to be doing on that page. So if I go to your subscription options classes, again, there's that little blue arrow, and again, how to copy classes, how to create them, all those kinds of things in there. Let me just double check. So I'm not going to, there's some things I'm going to just, showing you how to copy and move people. Okay, I'm just going to explain a couple more things. So I'm just going to quickly show you how to add a member. So if you've got somebody who, for whatever reason, isn't like your coaches. Your coaches aren't going to register through the third-party registration. You're probably going to add them yourself. So what you would do is you go to members, groups, and then select your group. So I'm going to select the coaches group, and then use this button here to add new members. Do you have a member that's a coach that that you want me to add now that I can use as an example? Sorry?
You can do me if you want.
Okay.
Unless actually, would there be one sort of like management or?
Just to let you know about administrative privileges, there's three kind of settings with administrative privileges. There's records that have full admin rights, and any profile that has full admin rights will be viewing the system in the same way as I'm showing you today. You then have records that have no administrative rights at all, and they're going to be seeing the system purely from the members view that I showed you earlier. You can have other profiles which are set up which have partial administrative rights, and they would just have an extra tab in their members record in order to do the administration tasks that are relevant to them. The main difference between partial admin rights and full admin rights is that if a profile has got full admin rights, it can't be linked to any other profile in the system. It has to be its own unique record, and also they're not able to make payments through the system. So it's more applicable for membership organizations where the administrators are also members who pay fees, in which case they would need to make two separate records, one profile that has the full admin rights and then a personal profile that they can interact with. So I'm not quite sure with regards to yourself. I have a feeling that you would have the full admin rights under one profile. It's more for maybe your coaches who might not need to have the full admin rights, who might only be needing to record attendance or maybe add, notes to members' profile, or might need to be able to see any medical information or contact information for the classes that they teach and not for everybody in the system.
Okay. So do you want me to give you a coach's name?
Yeah, then I can show you how to add a member.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of a coach. Go Charlie, Charley. That's Fury, Furey.
Sorry, S.
And an F for Freddie. Urey.
Yeah. And their email address?
Charlie WF.
S for sugar?
No, F for Fury. Or
WF, sorry.
Yeah, at iCloud.com.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So from the admin side, again, you have the option to add them as an individual or add a linked member. If you add a linked member, it's the same way as on the registration page where they can add it will automatically link them from there. But in this instance, you'd probably just want to finish. So there you would see they're added to that coaches group. If I click on their record to give them partial administrative rights or administrative rights, it's from this button that's on the ribbon. So if I click on that, it will then show all the administrative rights that I can give that record. So on the left-hand side, it's the actions, and on the right-hand side, it's to which groups that applies to. So when you're giving access rights, you need to make sure that you're giving from both sides of the page, because if you only give access rights but not to any group, then it's not going to take effect. Or if you only select the groups but not the privileges, then it won't have any effect. When you give administrative privileges to anybody in the system, what it will do, the system will send an email to that member's record to the member's email address for them to verify their email, and the changes won't take effect until they've verified the link, just to confirm that those privileges are going to somebody with a valid email address and that's been verified. So I'm not going to give any rights at the moment. I'll leave you to do that, and you might want to let the members know what's going on before doing so. The next thing I'm going to just show you is how to send a group email. If you go to Members View All, you have this email function here. If you click on Send New Email, you can then choose everybody or a particular group. So you might want to then, once you've added all your coaches to the system, you might want to send them an email, and then press Next. And then again, in the same way as your template email editor that I showed you earlier, you've got exactly the same thing here, but it's the only difference is that there's no text already sitting there from the system. You can add it yourself. So again, you would edit the subject header, and you would select if you had any fields that you wanted to mail merge, you would add them there. We would recommend, for the members' login details, informing them how to log in. Those fields are also there, so it would be their username, which we would recommend that you add, and also the link to the members' login. So this is quite useful if you're adding your coaches directly yourself and you want to send them an email explaining what you've done and what's going to happen when you give them privileges and how they can access their members' account to complete the form, the information that you're requiring from them. This is a good way to do that.
Okay.
And then you would just send the email when you're happy with it. We are developing and we'll be rolling out, hopefully in the next week or so, additional email functionality from within the system that will allow you to save templates within the system and schedule emails to go out at a later date. So keep an eye out for those enhancements because they will be rolled out soon. But for the time being, if there are any regular emails that you send to people that would be useful to keep it as a template, if you create it here using those insert fields and then copy it and paste it into a Word document and save it there, then you can also have it there and you can paste it back into this email editor as required. Okay. If that makes sense. Yeah. What was I going to say? I've completely lost my train of thought. I do apologize. But yeah, so yeah, you can also see exactly who that email is going to be sent to. So if you had lots of people in that group and you only want, and there's some people you didn't really need to send it to, you could just unselect them and then they won't receive that email.
Yeah.
Themselves. So yeah, so that's where we are. Oh yeah, I know what I was going to do. I was going to explain the beta. With regards to all of these groups here, you can actually add, by default, you can see their name and the groups that they're in, and the date that they were added to the system. But using this column heading option here, you can also add you can add another column to that table depending from your fields, from your form fields. So, for example, if age is important, you can add it to there and you can see it directly, or date of birth. And that's quite useful if you have membership, you want to see anybody who hasn't filled in a particular field yet. I'm not quite sure. It depends. There's obviously it's quite useful because it allows you to do lots of filtering and sorting from within the system that in previously you would have had to have exported that information into an Excel sheet. So you can do that there, and you can make those changes for that justice table, for all the tables as appropriate. So yeah, that's kind of it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go to the main administrator profile here, and I'm going to change the email address so that I can give you access to the system.
Yeah, and then I'd like to make 3 other people so they can have as much access as me, if that's okay.
Yeah, so what you would do is you would add them to the system in the way that I showed you with Charlie's record.
Yeah.
And then what you would do is on the add, edit, view access rights, you would just give full access rights. Tick that one there and it will select everything.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So which email address would you like to be in there? This email address, because it's the main administrator profile, is the one that by default all the emails will be going from in terms of the emails that are associated to your classes and memberships. And any replies will be coming back to that email address.
Okay, yeah, that will be the gym email address, and
yeah.
I don't really have that much access to, so I'll have to try and remember.
Okay. What I can do is, for the time being, is I can give it, it's important that the email address that I put in here now is an email address that you have access to. Because this record has got full administrative rights, you will need to click on the link to verify that email address in order to be able for that change to take place. So you can change it again in the future, but just bear in mind it needs to be an email that you can have access to verify that link.
No, go on. I will be able to get to it, so I'll give
it.
It's info, info at wadegymnasticsclub.com.
Let me just make that bigger. Have I spelled it correctly?
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, so I'm just going to save that. And this is what's going to happen when you add your members and you give them administrative rights. You'll get this message saying a verification email has been sent. Please verify your new email address. The last thing that I want to show you is under admin settings. Again, I'm just going to put that there. And this is the navigation page here. And this is where, if you have a website and you want to have a link for new members to register, this is where you would find the links for you to share publicly. So the link to the online registration page is here. And we also recommend that you put the link to your member login page is here. So if ever someone says, oh, I don't know, where do I go to log in? Just go to admin settings and then go to the navigation section and you'll find the URL for members to log into your account.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Our website.
Yeah. So you can, if you speak to your web developer, this is the link that they'll probably want to put behind the button for them, for new members to register and for your existing members to log in.
Yeah.
If ever you make a change to any emails or any of these settings, you just need to click on save for them to take effect.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so in terms of next steps, just go through your subscription options. Just make sure that you've, I'm just going to make that. I think that's what my colleague had done in the other ones, just to make them, yeah. So just go through these and just maybe edit them. Check your email templates. Just to remove the reference to pay here, because it's not, if you're not taking PayPal payments, that's not going to apply. And then link your account to a payment method, and then share the link for your members to register. And what you can do is you can get them all to register now, and ideally sign up to pre-approve payments. And then when you come in July, you can approve them in accordingly. So maybe with your subscription options, if you make them, the classes and everything, relevant for the first payment that you're likely to take from your members from the system, that would be best.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
But we'll be on hand. So if you need any support close to the time, just you can schedule some time and we can do a refresher, or there's the actual recording of this session that you should have access to on your system.
Definitely. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
But I'll get my head around it.
Okay then.
That's great. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Take care.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Yeah, but I've got stuff to do first.